Ramadan is not simply a month on a calendar. It is not just a season that comes and goes. It is not merely a cultural tradition that repeats every year. It is a pause that Allah, in His infinite wisdom and mercy, places into the rhythm of our lives, a pause meant to wake us up, a pause meant to soften hearts that have grown distracted, a pause meant to realign souls that have drifted. There are moments in time that are heavier than others. There are days that carry more weight. There are hours that are more beloved to Allah than others. Out of His mercy, Allah did not make every moment equal. He selected certain times and honored them. He magnified certain acts and elevated their reward. There are days in the week that are better than others. There are nights in the year that are greater than others. There are acts of worship that shine brighter when performed in specific moments. And then there is Ramadan, a month in which every act of worship becomes more valuable, more luminous, more transformative. In Ramadan, a single good deed carries a weight that it would not carry outside of it. A prayer feels different. A tear feels different. A whisper of repentance feels different. Why idea it? Because Allah made it that way. And from His mercy is that He placed between these sacred times a system of purification. Between one prayer and the next, sins are erased. Between one Friday and the next, sins are forgiven. Between one Ramadan and the next, sins are wiped away. But that promise is not automatic. It is for those who show up. It is for those who commit. Return, it is for those who do not treat worship as return. Ramadan is an open door. But walking through it is a choice. The Messenger of Allah, Sallallahu, described this month as a time when the gates of paradise are opened wide, the gates of hellfire are shut, the devils are chained, the gates of Jannah open, the gates of Jahannam closed, the whispers of Shaitan restrained when and yet many hearts remain unchanged. Why tieving? Because sometimes the enemy is not only outside us. Sometimes the struggle is within Tistrella. Ramadan is not only about the devils being chained. It is about whether we are willing to unchain ourselves from our own habits within it a night that is better than 1,000 months, a single night that outweighs a lifetime, a night in which destinies are written, a night in which prayers ascend differently, a night in which forgiveness flows freely, and yet the tragedy is not that Ramadan comes and goes. The tragedy is that some hearts remain exactly the same. Last Ramadan, many of us were surrounded by people who are no longer here. Friends who fasted beside us, family members who prayed beside us, voices that recited Quran in the same home. They stood with us last year. This year they lie beneath the earth. Their opportunity has ended, or it has not, and that alone should shake us. We assume we have time. We assume there will be another Ramadan, another chance, another year to fix what we are postponing today. But death does not wait for spiritual readiness. Shaitan does not need to convince you to sin immediately. Sometimes he only needs to convince you to delay goodness. Later he whispers. Next year he suggests. When you are older, when you are more stable, when life is less busy. But what if this is the last Ramadan? What if this is the final opportunity to rewrite your story? Ramadan is a month of change, but before we speak about change, we must understand something deeper. The Quran tells us that Allah does not change the condition of a people until they change what is within themselves. Change begins inside, not in schedules, not in announcements, not in public displays of worship. It begins in the unseen place, the heart. And that is why fasting was prescribed. O you who believe, fasting has been prescribed for you as it was prescribed for those before you, so that you may attain taqwa, not hunger, not exhaustion, not weight loss, taqwa. What is taqwa? It is awareness. It is consciousness. It is living with the knowledge that Allah sees you, even when no one else does. It is building a shield between yourself and the displeasure of Allah. Imagine walking on a dangerous path filled with thorns and hidden dangers. You would walk carefully. You would lift your garment. You would watch every step. You would be alert. That carefulness is taqwa. Ramadan trains the soul to walk carefully. Outside of Ramadan, we eat whenever we desire. We drink without hesitation. We fulfill permissible desires freely. Then suddenly, from dawn until sunset, we stop. Not because food became haram, not because water became evil, but because Allah said, not now, and so we obey. But not obedience, even when no one is watching, is taqwa in action. You could lock yourself in a room, you could drink water, no one would know, but you don't wise-sighted, because Allah would know. And that awareness, that unseen awareness, is the seed of transformation. Ramadan forces us to confront our habits. We change our sleep. We change our eating. We change our routines. We stand in prayer at night. We restrain our tongues. We guard our eyes. And through this, something subtle begins to shift. But real change does not begin with action alone. It begins with accountability. Before you can transform, you must pause. You must ask yourself 3 honest questions. What have I done in the past? Where do I stand today? Not tomorrow in the sense of next week, tomorrow in the sense of the day when everything will be exposed. Bring yourself to account before you are brought to account, because reflection delayed becomes regret. Stop for a moment. Look at your past year, the prayers you missed, the words you spoke, the habits you allowed, the chances you wasted, the moments you felt Allah calling you and you ignored it. Are you closer to Allah than you were last Ramadan, or further? Are your sins decreasing or becoming normalized? Is your heart softer or more distracted? And finally, ask yourself, what do I want written for me? Abba Sahib, because what you send forward is what you will meet. Ramadan is not about becoming someone new. We were not created distant from Allah. We drifted. We were not created addicted to distractions. We allowed them in. So when we speak of change in Ramadan, we are not speaking of becoming something foreign. Think returning to the fitra, returning to obedience. And this return requires clarity. You must know what you are changing. Vague intentions do not produce lasting transformation. I want to be better is not specific enough. Better how? Is it your prayer? Heidi, are you missing Fajr? Is it your tongue fur? Are you backbiting daily? Is it your eyesight? Are you consuming what poisons your heart? Is it an addiction? Is it arrogance? Is it neglect of parents? Identify it. Name it. Because you cannot fight what you refuse to acknowledge. Then reflect on the consequences. What is this habit costing you? Distance from Allah, hardness of heart, loss of barakah, spiritual emptiness, regret. Not to drown in guilt, but to awaken urgency. Then reflect on the opposite. What would obedience bring? Peace, closeness, light, strength, barakah in time, barakah in relationships, barakah in your soul. What transformation is not only about fearing loss, it is about desiring something greater. Ramadan hands you the tools, but you must decide to build, make a plan. If prayer is your struggle, structure your day around it. If your phone is your distraction, set boundaries. If your nights are wasted, protect them. If your mornings are weak, prepare for them. Do not rely on emotion alone. If emotion fades, structure sustains. And then comes the hardest part, consistency. Human beings fall, we relapse. We slip, we forget. But the best among us are not those who never fall. They are those who never fall. They are those who return quickly. It is refusal to quit. Ramadan is training. Training to fight your nafs. Your nafs does not surrender easily. It wants comfort. It wants indulgence. It wants the familiar. It'll resist change. So you must meet it with patience. Patience in restraining desire. Patience in maintaining routine. Patience when motivation dips. Patience when whispers return. Because success belongs to those who remain. Guard your heart like a soldier guards a border. Protect your gaze. Protect your tongue. Protect your time. Because taqwa is not built in one night. It is built in small, repeated acts of obedience, and Ramadan is the workshop, a sacred space where the soul is retrained, where hunger teaches humility, where hunger teaches sincerity, where night prayer teaches sincerity, where discipline teaches freedom. Because real freedom is not doing whatever you desire. Real freedom is not being enslaved to desire at all. There is something powerful about hunger, not because hunger itself is noble, but because hunger reveals. When the body is deprived, the heart becomes exposed. When comfort is removed, reality surfaces. Fasting strips away distraction. It removes the constant noise of consumption. It forces you to sit with yourself. And many of us are not used to sitting with ourselves. We are used to scrolling. We are used to eating. We are used to filling silence with sounds. We are used to escaping discomfort immediately. Return. Ramadan does not allow that escape. When you feel thirst in the middle of the day, there is no instant solution. You cannot sip water quietly. You cannot snack secretly. You wait. You are learning restraint. You are learning that desire does not control you. You are learning that obedience is more important than impulse. And this is where many misunderstand fasting. They think fasting is about staying away from food and drink. They measure success by whether they avoided water. They count the hours until sunset and think endurance alone is achievement. But the messenger of Allah warned us that some people gain nothing from their fast except hunger. Why? Because their tongues are still careless, their hearts are still hard, their behavior is still harmful. If the tongue is lying, backbiting, insulting, mocking what was trained, if the eyes are still consuming what corrupts the heart, what was restrained to die, if the ears are still feeding on what distances the soul from Allah, what changed? Food is permissible. Marital intimacy is permissible. Yet Allah temporarily made them forbidden during the day. Why IRD? To train you to leave what is permanently forbidden. If you can leave what is halal for the sake of Allah, then you can certainly leave what is haram for His sake. That is the lesson. Ramadan is not deprivation. It is discipline. It is a school. One of the greatest lessons Ramadan teaches is gratitude. When you feel hunger, you begin to understand what you normally take for granted. The glass of water you drink every day without thought becomes precious. The meal you eat casually becomes a gift. The ability to access food whenever you desire becomes a blessing. You realize that what you once considered normal was actually mercy. There are people across the world who do not break their fast with abundance. Some do not even know when their next meal will come. Some do not choose hunger. Hunger chooses them. Ramadan makes you feel, even briefly, what others live daily. And that feeling is meant to soften you. It is meant to break arrogance. It is meant to awaken generosity. Because a heart that feels hunger becomes more compassionate. Another lesson Ramadan teaches is about the day of thirst. There will come a day when humanity will stand under a sun brought near, a day when sweat will reach different levels depending on deeds, a day when thirst will not be voluntary. In this world, your thirst ends at sunset. On that day, thirst will only end for those who are granted mercy. When you feel dryness in your throat during fasting, let it remind you of that gathering. Let it remind you that there will be a crowd of souls desperate for relief, and there will be a fountain, the Hawd of the prophets of Allah, a fountain whose water is whiter than milk and sweeter than honey, a fountain from which whoever drinks will never be thirsty again. But there is something that should shake us. Not everyone who claims love for the Prophet ﷺ will drink from that fountain. Some will be turned away. Why? Because of what they chose after guidance reached them, because of what they altered, because of what they introduced, because of how they lived. Ramadan is not only about emotion, it is about alignment. Alignment between what we claim and how we act. Another lesson Ramadan teaches is habit formation. The first days are difficult. Waking up early feels heavy. Staying awake at night feels exhausting. Hunger feels sharp, but after a few days, something shifts. The body adjusts, the routine stabilizes. The once difficult becomes manageable. This is proof of something powerful. Human beings adapt to what they repeat. If you repeatedly wake up for prayer, it becomes easier. If you repeatedly avoid sin, the urge weakens. Consistency reshapes desire. And that is why the most beloved deeds to Allah are those done consistently, even if small. But because of their stability, a small deed done daily builds a spiritual muscle. A huge act done once and abandoned builds ego. Ramadan is a training ground for the entire year. If you pray every night in Ramadan but abandon prayer after Eid, then the lesson was not absorbed. If you read Quran daily in Ramadan but close it for 11 months, then the training was not completed. The purpose of a school is no. So to the classroom, Ramadan trains you so that after it leaves, you remain stronger. It trains you to detach from constant consumption. It trains you to structure your day around worship. It trains you to see food not as entertainment, but as sustenance. It trains you to see time as sacred. Look at the masjid during this month. Different colors, different languages, different backgrounds, young and old, rich and poor, educated and uneducated, all standing shoulder to shoulder, all bowing together, all breaking fast together. Hunger equalizes, Salah equalizes, death equalizes, death equalizes. In Ramadan, the illusion of superiority fades. What remains is shared servitude, shared need, shared hope. And that unity is a mercy. But even within this mercy, people divide into categories. There are those who wait for Ramadan months in advance. They ask Allah to let them reach it. They plan goals. They enter the month with anticipation. And when it comes, they engage fully. Their hearts were preparing long before the crescent was sighted. Then there are those who fast because it is expected, because their family fasts, they may pray, they may attend gatherings, but internally nothing is shifting. For them, Ramadan is seasonal, it is cultural, it is routine. Then there are those who neglect it entirely, who break fast intentionally without excuse, who treat an obligation as optional. This is not a small matter. Fasting is not a recommendation. It is a pillar. A pillar is not decorative. It holds the structure. Remove it, and the structure collapses. Ramadan exposes our relationship with Allah, not publicly, privately. Because fasting is hidden, you could pretend, but Allah knows, and that knowledge is the core of taqwa. Many people ask, if the devils are chained, why do I still struggle? Devin, because not every whisper is external. Some whispers have become internal. When sin is repeated long enough, it becomes habit. When habit becomes strong enough, it feels natural. Ramadan does not automatically erase habits. It gives you the opportunity to confront them. If your nafs has been unrestrained for 11 months, it will not surrender in one night. You must actively restrain it. You must actively oppose it. You must actively redirect it. And that requires determination, not vague intention. Determination is different from wishing. Wishing says, I hope I change. Determination says, I will. Determination is quiet. It is private. It is between you and Allah, but it is between you and Allah. It is when you decide that this Ramadan will not be like the last, that you will not exit it unchanged. Because if you do not change in Ramadan, when will you idab? If you cannot soften when mercy is multiplied, when gates are open, when reward is abundant, when will you soften? This month is a mercy, and receiving requires effort, not dramatic effort, not public effort, but sincere effort. Effort to pray on time, effort to guard the tongue, effort to reduce screen time, effort to increase Quran, effort to forgive, effort to give charity, effort to sit in silence and reflect. Ramad is not about perfection. It is about direction. Are you moving toward Allah or away from Him? Every fasted hour is a step. Every restrained desire is a step. Every whispered du'a is a step. And steps accumulate. One day does not transform a soul, but 30 days of consistent steps can change its trajectory. And that is the gift placed before you. There is a difference between intention and resolve. Intention is a thought. Resolve is a decision. Many people enter Ramadan with beautiful intentions. They want to pray more. They want to read Quran daily. They want to abandon certain sins. They want to feel closer to Allah. But wanting is not the same as committing. Resolve is when you close the door to excuses. Resolve is when you stop negotiating with your weaknesses. Resolve is when you say to your soul, we are not leaving this month the same. It is meant to transform you internally. The first place transformation begins is with obligations. Before extra prayers, before long supplications, before spiritual goals that feel inspiring, read the foundations, the 5 daily prayers, fasting properly, avoiding major sins. If you want closeness to Allah, begin with what He already made mandatory. There is a sacred principle: a servant does not draw nearer to Allah with anything more beloved than what Allah has made obligatory. This means if you are praying voluntary night prayers but neglecting Fajr, something is misplaced. If you are reading long portions of Quran but ignoring your obligations to family, something is unbalanced. Ramadan is not about adding more before stabilizing what already exists. Stabilize the pillars, guard the prayer, pray it on time, pray it with presence. Even if presence is weak at first, show up. Consistency builds depth. After obligations come voluntary acts, and Ramadan is full of them. Extra prayer, extra charity, extra remembrance, extra Quran. But voluntary worship is meant to beautify obedience, not replace it. Another layer of Ramadan that many overlook is the protection of the tongue. The tongue is small, but it carries enormous weight. A careless word can undo hours of fasting. Backbiting, mocking, lying, arguing, culling, complaining constantly. Fasting is not silence, but it is discipline in speech. When anger rises during fasting, that is the moment of training. When someone provokes you and you choose restraint, that is the moment of growth. When you feel the urge to gossip and you hold back, that is spiritual strength. Ramadan is a mirror. It shows you where you are weak. It exposes what still controls you. If you become more impatient while fasting, that is an indicator. If you become more irritated, that is a sign. The hunger is not the problem. The reaction is the lesson. Another hidden blessing of Ramadan is that it reveals attachments. What do you miss most during the fast? Food, coffee, scrolling, music, constant stimulation, Heidi. Whatever feels hardest to give up shows you where your heart leans. Ramadan is not about suppressing desire temporarily. It is about recalibrating attachment. You were not created to be owned by consumption. You were not created to be ruled by appetite. You were created to worship. And worship is freedom. Freedom from constant craving. Freedom from being controlled by impulse. Freedom from being enslaved to habit. There is also something deeply humbling about breaking your fast. You sit before a simple meal. You say Bismillah. You take the first sip of water, and relief floods your body. That moment teaches dependence. You realize how fragile you are, how quickly energy fades, how easily strength weakens. Ramadan dismantles the illusion of self-sufficiency. It reminds you that you are sustained, not self-sustaining. And in that reminder is humility. Humility is the soil where sincerity grows. Another reality Ramadan teaches is urgency. The month moves quickly. The first night feels intense. The 20th night feels urgent. Then suddenly, it is ending. and you begin to feel something heavy. But did I do enough? Did I waste time? Did I truly change? This feeling is not meant to produce despair. It is meant to awaken awareness. Time is passing. Life is passing. Life is passing. Ramadan is a rehearsal for something greater. Just as Ramadan begins unexpectedly and ends quickly, life does the same. You do not know which fast is your last. You do not know which sujud is your final one. You do not know which Ramadan will be the one you do not reach. That awareness should not paralyze you. It should energize you. There is also a silent struggle many people face in Ramadan. They start strong. Then midway through the month, motivation declines. Energy drops. Excitement fades and they begin to slip. Where patience becomes critical. Patience is not passive endurance. It is active perseverance. It is continuing even when emotion disappears. It is praying even when you feel dry. It is reading Quran even when focus is scattered. It is showing up even when inspiration is absent. Emotion will fluctuate. Resolve must not. There is a type of struggle that is louder and visible, and there is a type of struggle that is internal and quiet. The struggle against the ego, against laziness, against distraction, against arrogance. This internal struggle is constant. Ramadan intensifies it because you are trying to rise while your ego wants comfort. Your ego whispers, rest. Your ego whispers, skip it. Your ego whispers, tomorrow. But every time you resist, you grow stronger. Every time you choose discipline over desire, something inside realigns. Guard yourself like a sentry guards a border. Guard your eyes from what poisons. Guard your ears from what hardens. Guard your heart from envy. Guard your time from waste. Because taqwa is built through guarding, through protection, through awareness. Ramadan is not a performance. It is purification. It is not about how many people see you pray. It is about whether Allah sees sincerity in your heart. It is not about how long your dua sounds. It is about whether your dua is honest. It is not about how many pages you recite publicly. It is about whether the Quran is entering your heart. There is also a subtle danger in Ramadan. Pride in how much you worship. Pride in how disciplined you are. Pride in comparing yourself to others. But Ramadan is meant to humble you, not inflate you. You fast because Allah enabled you. You pray because Allah allowed you. You give charity because Allah provided for you. Without His permission, you would not move. So do not let worship become ego. Let it become gratitude. As Ramadan progresses, hearts either soften or remain sealed. Some hearts break open in sujud. Some hearts tremble in du'a. Some hearts cry in the quiet of the night. Others remain distracted, unmoved, unchanged. The difference is not in the month. The difference is in receptivity. Ramadan is rain. If the soil is open, it produces growth. If the soil is sealed, water runs off. Open your heart. Remove resentment. Release grudges. Seek forgiveness from people. Forgive those who hurt you, because a heart carrying hatred struggles to taste closeness. Ramadan is also about mercy. Allah's mercy is vast. Allah's mercy is vast. No sin is too large for repentance. No past is too dark for light. No distance is too far for return. If you feel ashamed of your past, bring that shame to Allah. If you feel broken, bring your brokenness. If you feel lost, bring your confusion. Ramadan is an invitation, not for the perfect, but for the sincere. Not for the perfect, but for the sincere. A sincerity transforms ordinary acts into extraordinary weight. A simple tear in private may outweigh hours of visible worship. A quiet apology to Allah may rewrite destiny. A small, consistent habit may change your future. Ramadan does not demand perfection. It demands effort. It demands sincerity. And if you exit this month with even one sin reduced, one prayer strengthened, one habit improved, one attachment weakened, one relationship repaired, then you have gained. Sometimes it is subtle, so of a shift in direction, a shift in intention, a shift in attachment, and that shift can alter the entire path of your life